Roger, I have to ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about the return of Rebecca Lowe?
Oh, that's absolutely off the charts, Dave. I mean, it's to come back with the Premier League without her hosting it because she's been away in Rio doing a phenomenal job. It's a little bit like travelling all the way to Marine, only to find that Khaleesi is out in the countryside roaming around with her dragons. It's been very hard to watch the football without her. She returns next week. Arlo White, the great commentator, returns from Rio, and I think all will feel right with the world.
One of the great free agent signings in the history of the United States. She is a treasure. As is Neymar for the host country of the 2016 games. How special, Roger, was that moment for him, for that country, and for the sport, drilling home that gold medal winning goal, breaking down in tears?
I think it's an incredible relief. I mean, I was there in 2014 during the World Cup in Brazil, which was meant to be a coronation for the nation, for that team. They believed that God had selected their squad, and nothing could stop them from winning it. They came unhinged in the semi-final and got absolutely eviscerated 7-1 by Germany. Just a night of national tragedy and mourning. This win over the weekend, when they won the Olympic gold, will not heal that. The Olympic tournament is like the NIT to the World Cup's March Madness. The two tournaments, they're not equivalent. Yet, I think there was an incredible relief, mostly because Brazil had never won the Olympic tournament. It's an under-23 tournament. It's young kids. And it doesn't have the standing of the World Cup, but it really annoyed them that they had never won the Olympic gold, so they really wanted it. He wanted it. He wanted to bring kind of a happiness to redeem himself in the eyes of the Brazilian public. And I think they're still haunted by what's happened to Brazilian football over the past decade, where it's gone from being the gold standard to being a little sullied. But I compare this victory, the happiness of the weekend and the gold medal, to losing in the final round of The Bachelor, but somehow finding love anyway with a local accountant and living a very happy and joyous life. That's probably what winning this gold medal was the greatest equivalent to for Brazilian football.
And that's why the Men in Blazers is a must-watch, comparing an Olympic gold medal to the runner-up on The Bachelor. It is interesting. An almost gimme goal in that situation can completely change one of the most famous players on the planet, their legacy almost. But we'll see about...
Narrative is everything, and that is certainly the case with the Premier League, Dave.
And the Premier League is back. And if I had told you a year ago that Leicester City, at a 5,000 to 1 shot, would win the title, you'd have told me what?
I would have told you that I picked Leicester City to win the title for the past 123 years. And it's never quite worked. I would have told you were a madman. The joy of Leicester City winning the title. I think the greatest legacy may be in giving false hope to all sports fans now. Apart from you, Cleveland Browns listeners, I think every single sports fan in every single sports league now thinks that they can do a Leicester City. But it was a remarkable story. It was like it is going to be a Hollywood. I was going to say it's like a Hollywood movie. It is going to be a Hollywood movie. A bunch of retreads, rejects, journeymen, kind of young hoopers coming together, forging this absolute collective, sheer brotherhood with a style of playing, a deeply reactive, counter-attacking style that no one could stop. But I'll say the new season has started. Leicester lost their first game to possibly a team that will turn out to be the worst team in English football, a pub team, Hull City. They drew the weekend, and already it's looking as if their title defence, they're a little bit, I believe, like the footballing equivalent of the Baha Men, the band who let the dogs out in 2000 but turned out to be a one-hit wonder. Football moves on.
Who let the dogs out? That must be a tough act to follow, though, when you survive relegation the year before. You come back against insurmountable odds. You're one of the greatest stories in the world in sports. The emotional high of that almost naturally leads to a low. How tough is that to follow that act?
I would say it's incredibly difficult because when you come in the top four of the English Premier League, you qualify with the best teams in the world, the Barcelonas, the Real Madrids, the Bayern Munichs, and you qualify for a second tournament called the Champions League. So this tiny little team in an obscure town in England, best known as the potato chip capital of Europe, are suddenly, instead of playing in obscurity, are suddenly playing in the great theatres of European football, and that is going to absolutely destroy them. They're not just playing at the weekend; they'll be playing on Tuesday and Wednesday. They have a second front of battle. Secondly, there's no surprise about them this season. I mean, everyone knows what they're going to do. Everyone knows how they're going to play, and their own manager, a wonderful man, Claudio Ranieri, he summed up their chances of defending their title. He said there's more of a chance of E.T. landing at Piccadilly Circus than Leicester defending the title. So we're grateful to them for giving us an incredible Seabiscuit sporting moment that I will never forget, that I think captured the imagination of many, even in America. But this season, there's so many teams, so much money, so many new faces, so much rearming has gone on that it's going to be one of the most competitive Premier Leagues of all time.
And speaking of so much money, no one has more than Manchester United. They bring in the special one. How much fun will you have with the new faces at Manchester United? What are your expectations with them?
So Manchester United, listeners, they're owned by the Glazers of Tampa Bay Buccaneers fame, or infamous owners probably. Manchester United, a giant, a mega brand, a global leader, who've kind of lost their way over the past 5 years since their Vince Lombardi equivalent, Sir Alex Ferguson, retired after a couple of decades. They went and pulled in a new manager, a winner, Jose Mourinho. If you can imagine, like if Pat Riley and Bill Belichick had a bastard Portuguese offspring, he would be it. He's a winner. But his winning is inextricably connected to other teams, particularly Chelsea, the Blues of Chelsea. So seeing him at Manchester United, it's just hard for the eyes. He's like we say, he's the greatest defector to the Reds since Edward Snowden. And they've spent a huge amount of money breaking the transfer barrier to pull in a young, potent star, the bombastic Paul Pogba. Less a signing, more a statement of intent. They've spent a fortune on a 34-year-old mythologized goal-scoring wonder, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. And already 6 points, 2 games won. They're looking like the early leaders in the clubhouse.
We eagerly await this Premier League season, and with references to The Bachelor and to Who Let the Dogs Out and to E.T. and many more. That's why you have to watch the Men in Blazers tonight, 8:30 Eastern on NBCSN.
It's an awful television show. One last quick thing, yep. Dave. Fantastic American story thus far this season. Young Californian Lyndon Gooch playing for an unfashionable team, Sunderland, and has been on a terrible team, a tenacious terrier, a great new young American to watch this season going forward.
Something the Premier League could certainly use. Draw some interest up here. That is outstanding. Some American talent making its way over to the Premier League. 8:30 Eastern time as the Men in Blazers. Catch the podcast as well on iTunes. Roger Bennet, thank you so much, sir. We appreciate the time.
Thanks, Dave, and thanks to Paul Papsty. Rock on.
Paul Pabst, rock on.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.